Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Good afternoon. Bring some energy in here on this nice sunny Midwestern day, right? So I want to welcome you to the 9th annual Larry Williams Healthy for the Holidays event. This is going to be an amazing day. We have 2 great speakers coming up, so I cannot wait for them to come up. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you just to do me a favor. Can you turn to someone by you somewhere? If you're by yourself, just speak to yourself, I guess. But if not, find somebody. But can you just turn to somebody and repeat this and just say, it's a blessing to be in your presence.
It's a blessing to be in your presence.
Thank you. And the reason I say that is because now COVID is over, we always busy. And sometimes we just don't sit still and just acknowledge one another. So I just wanted to say it is a blessing to be here with all of you. I am Johanna Holloway, I did not say that, so I'll be your hostess for today. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the board of directors. So if I call your name, could you please stand up? First we have Takara Elrich Robinson, she is the executive director. We have Aaron Robinson, he's the operations manager. Laverne Gardner, she is the treasurer. And Mozella Malone, she's the secretary, but she is unable to attend today. And then also Perlene Mason, and she is the marketing public relations manager, and she's also unable to attend. But can we just give them a hand for all that is still our lives? And at this time, we're going to have Ms. Liz Gibson come up, and she's going to speak to you about the Birth of 5 program, and she is the regional counselor manager.
Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and for being committed to not only one another, but to our communities and to our families. I'm excited to be here also with my family and community engagement specialist, Kenny Hickory. We are here as part of Birth to 5 Illinois. Birth to 5 Illinois is a statewide non-for-profit grant program that emerged last November when the state of Illinois partnered with the Illinois Network of Child Care Resource and Referral Agencies, also known as INCRA. Our grant program officially launched in February, and we were excited to establish our local office in October, just a few months ago. November's been a very busy month for us, getting our councils going and getting established. As the regional council manager, my job is to lead our action councils. And our action councils consist of our community members. I'm also tasked with supporting my family and community engagement specialist and leading our family councils. And our family councils consist of families all across Kankakee and Iroquois County that have children between the ages of birth to 8 years old. Through our council meetings, we're assigned with completing a regional scan or a needs assessment that is committed to learning about the needs of our area. We want to find out what early child resource needs are needed and what care services are also needed. We are proud that we officially have begun both sets of our meetings, and we're moving towards starting our focus groups in January. And this is where we really could use support. Now more than ever, we have an opportunity to have voice for our region and to advocate for the needs of our community. But the data can only say so much. We want to hear from our families, hear from our community members, hear what's going on. We want to be able to conduct not only our council meetings, but also our focus groups. We want to hear about lived experiences, we want to hear about trials, challenges, or even the celebrations that are taking place. I know when we think about the healthy care of children, we think about them as being healthy when it comes to their education. We know the importance of brain development, the importance of early intervention, and building that educational foundation that will not only prepare them for the future, but will sustain their futures by having access and resources in the community. Kenny Lynn and I would love to share more about our program with you after the luncheon today. to connect you with what we're doing, and also for you to help connect us. We're looking for opportunities to have additional contacts, to reach out to our local elected officials, to be present at community or school-based events, and to also bring awareness to the work that we're doing. So again, please talk with us afterwards. We have a table set up to the side. We'd love to get contact information, share our business cards with you, and most importantly, just appreciate the opportunity to be here with Still I Rise, because we want to be invested in the community. We want to make sure that good things are taking place, not just presently, but also in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz, for that. Appreciate it. And before I move on, may I please acknowledge Circuit Judge Marlo Jones. And now I want to introduce our first speaker for today, and his name is Bobby Newt, and I'm going to read his bio to you, but wow. I just have to say amazing work that you've done so far. I just wanted to say that. So this young man has grew up in San Francisco. He was the lead singer of the R&B boy group, the Neutrons, as he and his brothers were groomed by the Jacksons. And they earned a record deal at the age of 15 and signed to Joe Jackson's record label. He became a 3-time Grammy-nominated songwriter for artists such as Chris Brown, LaToya Luckett, Omarion, Pleasure P, Ron Isley, Keisha Cole, Babyface, and that's just to name a few. And he was also an executive producer on Tank's album, Now or Never, and was signed to a publishing deal for his company. Today he is here to talk about mental health and how he overcame the harsh adversities in his life. So I would like to introduce to you Mr. Bobby Newt, please.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
First I want to say thank you for having me here. I'm from California. This is only by God that I'm here. A couple of my friends from Champaign introduced me to Aaron and his wife, and that's why I'm here today. And I just love to share my testimony. And my testimony is a deep one in that I come from the streets of San Francisco. My dad was a notorious street pimp, gangster. And so for me, the way I think about it, I'm like, okay, he put us in music so that we wouldn't have to go down the same road that he did. But sometimes in the DNA and the sins of the father, they come back to haunt the kids. And so for us, my dad was in the streets, and we came up knowing street type things, if you guys know what I mean. There was domestic violence in my house. My parents did drugs. At one point I was in a foster home. I dealt with so many different things, and then the music did help us rise above that, but because we had come from the street stuff, it still drug us back down, because my dad actually got us a record deal with MCA while he was on the run from the police. And then when he went to jail, my brother hooked up with some gangbangers and got himself killed. And so for me, I was always into basketball and girls. Like, the streets wasn't really my thing like that. But to the mental health part, right? To see, I actually saw my twin being murdered. I don't know if you guys remember that show Hard Copy, but it would show the surveillance footage. And so I watched my brother walk in this store with his hat down, him and his guys with the guns, and then I watched him try and walk out of the store, and the store man shot him in the side of the head. And so for two things happened. At the time, I'm, I think, 15 and a half years old. And it's like one day everything is a bowl of cherries. And the next day it's a nightmare that you hope you're gonna wake up from. Because we're not wired, we're not built to deal with that type of trauma or tragedy, but we try and cope. And for me, I just kept hoping that I was gonna wake up. Like, I just need to wake up from this nightmare. But I didn't wake up from the nightmare. And so what I started to do was medicate myself. And the way I medicated myself was with women. And so by the time I was 23, I had 4 kids with 5 different women, because I'm tearing up my life now, because I'm no longer living, I'm surviving, if that makes sense to you guys. I was surviving, and for a long time, there were no plans. Like my now wife that I have, she talks about 5-year plans. But to somebody from me, I had a 2-minute plan. Like, am I gonna survive for 2 minutes? She's like, oh, we gonna save money, or we gonna buy a house, or I'm thinking, how do I survive this next 2 or 3 minutes? And so I just kind of want to tell you guys a little bit about how these things happen, and how God has been my therapist. He's been my therapist through this whole thing. And it's funny how you can look back through your life and you can see that his hand has been on you the whole time. And so for me, again, like I said, I always wanted to be, we thought we'd be the Jackson 5. We thought we'd be famous. We thought, you know, that I'd capture all these goals and these dreams, and I thought I would do that until my twin got killed. And so now I'm trying to figure out life, and I'm going through my life, and through in my DNA. That's why I mentioned my dad, because in my DNA is all these things, this womanizing, this street stuff. It's all in my DNA. And so it took me till I was about 28 years old. She didn't mention I was also signed to death row as well. Like, I spent some time with Suge Knight. Like, I was really trying to be an R&B star. Like, I was really, like, however I could get it, I was trying to get it. And so literally, I would say I met my wife when I was 28 years old, and we got married. Well, I should say we dated first. We went through the counseling, and then we got married. I mention that because that was so pivotal in my life, because generational curses, right? Like, for generational curses, I was walking in my curse at first. I was a womanizer. Women were paying me money. I was doing what my dad did, and I never thought that I could overcome these things. But God, like, so at 28, 29, we started dating. I started going to church. I got saved, and at 30, we got married. And I say that to say I've never looked back from that point on. We got married. I've been faithful to my wife for 18 years. All the relationships with my kids are intact. Me and my wife have 3 beautiful kids. We have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 11-year-old at this point. Everybody's healthy. I work a real job. Like, there are so many different layers here. I can't tell them all to you guys. All I can tell you guys is that God is He's so good. Yes. And He's been so good to me. Yeah. Like, when I say He brought me from the mud I mean, and that's why, like, I talk to them, because I tell them, like, I want to talk to young kids. I want to tell them, you don't have to be a rapper. You don't have to be a basketball player. You ain't got to be a dope dealer. You can use your mind. Like, because of lack of knowledge, we do fail. Because I come from the streets, so if you come from the streets and all you see is that block, that's all you know. So that's why I was telling somebody the other day, I hate when people try to speak to our circumstance, because if you ain't in it, you don't know it. So don't speak to it. But for me, I can speak to, like I said, I can speak to domestic violence. I can speak to having parents that were on drugs. I can speak to, you know, something tragic happening to you. I mean, I'm a twin. If you're not a twin, you don't know what it's like to come here with somebody and then that person be killed. It's a lonely thing. Like, you feel like a piece of you is missing. And so I was trying to fill that hole with women. I was trying to fill that hole with stuff. And according to the world, I was doing good. When I was signed to death row, I had a nice car, I had jewelry, I had clothes, I had 5 girlfriends. And when I tell you at night, that's the thing, when you're alone. When you're alone, that's when the anxiety it was unbearable. I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't sleep. Only time I could sleep, I'd have to pray. That's the only way I go to sleep. And so, long story short, God has carried me through all these things, and He's shown me all these things, and He's shown me about breaking generational curses. And I continue to break generational curses in that, you know, nobody in my family, like to get married, people don't get married in my family. People womanize, people cheat, you know what I'm saying? People do all the wrong stuff. But now I'm an example, and I'm walking it out in front of my family, and they see me walking it out. Every day I'm walking it out in front of my kids. And I just came here to tell you guys also, I mean, I have a son who deals with mental health as well. And so I went through that, and that, I mean, like I was, you know, you get in that mental pain. There's physical pain, and then there's mental pain. Mental pain is, I mean, it's unbearable. It's like being in a mental jail, you know what I mean? Like that's why they commit suicide, because they can't turn it off. And so my son, and that's the thing too I want to talk about, it's taboo. Like it's you know, like even coming up, I remember being young, and I remember somebody having a kid that was mentally challenged, and they just kind of locked him away in the room. Like we don't, this organ that we have, we go fix everything else. Something hurts, we go to the doctor. But if the brain ain't working well, we don't really want to deal with that. When really we should. It's the thing we need the most. But instead, we want to hide it. We want to, oh, ain't nothing really wrong with my kid. When you know something really is. And so for me, I was dealing with the same thing with he's my namesake. We call him BJ, Bob Jr. And Bob Jr., since he was little, at first he banged his head on his crib. I'd be like, okay, that's different. And like, instead of when he throw tantrums, he banged his head on stuff, right? And so as he came up, I saw little things. And then, of course, me and his mother are not together. So I think that was really devastating to him as well. And so he got a girlfriend about 3 years ago, and he clung to this girl. And I didn't understand why he was clinging to her, but he was always a little awkward in school. He didn't really, his brother, and another thing is his brother his younger brother is he's good at everything. That's the other thing. That's the struggle too. So he's older, his brother is younger, his brother just graduated with a master's, he's got all the women, he's a basketball star, you know what I mean? Like, so him trying to live up to this stuff and being awkward and being in the shadow, it just makes him, he wants his own thing. And so he got this girlfriend, and she did him really bad. Like, she did him really bad. She used him up, and it ended up getting domestic. This kid's 19. He got domestic. She did him bad. He acted wild, and then he crashed his car into her car, and then tried to kill himself. He crashed. He drove 70 miles an hour into a cement wall. Came out without a scratch. Right? And so I'm like, okay, as a parent, I'm panicking though, because I'm like, not on my watch, because I know what this trauma is going to be if I lose my son. Because that's something I talk to God about all the time. I'm like, listen, I done survived a lot of things, but if you take one of my kids, I don't know if I can survive that. You know what I mean? So I handled it in a way where I was like, okay, so now I got to get him a lawyer, because she's pressing charges. They're ready to charge him as a criminal. We're telling the law this is a mental health diversion, and they charged him as a criminal. He ended up doing 6 months in jail. He got 5 years probation, and I only say this because early in his life they asked, did we want to put him on medicine, and he was 12 or 13. It was a choice me and his mother had to make, but of course we were always beefing because I had custody and she was trying to get custody back. We said no because one of the side effects of the medicine was that it would make you commit suicide. So I was like, nah, we're not gonna do that. Like we're not gonna do that. But long story short, he did the 6 months. We did it with him. It was tough. We was going up there. We crying every time we leave. I mean, it's that whole thing it's really horrible, and I think even with the system, like, the system needs help. Like, because if you look at the homeless people out there, half of them are they have mental problems. Half of the criminals have mental problems, but yet they put them in a cage and they don't help them, and then they come back out and they do the same thing. They kill somebody, but it's because they don't got no medicine and they're not getting help. You know what I mean? So, thank God. Because when things are, that's my thing. When I can't handle them, when they're too much, I just give it to God. And so With my son, I gave it to God, and now it's been 3 years. He almost done with his probation. He's been working a job for a full year. When I say he's a different person and doing amazing, and so that's all. I just want to come and share my story with y'all and just let y'all know God is so good, and that God is the therapist, He's the healer, He's the provider, He is everything. I was telling someone on the way here, I said, but God. Like, if it was for the world, I could have been a gangster, I could have been a pimp, I could have been all these things, I could have been in jail, I could have been a murderer. I was supposed to be some of these things, but God.
Yeah.
And so all I want to say to y'all is whatever y'all going through, if you can't handle it, give it to me. Yeah. I promise you, get on your knees, meditate about it, get in your word. Won't He do it?
Wow. Can we please give him another hand? This is so needed in our community. Before we move on, I just want to encourage you, we have raffle tickets at this table. They're raffling off the basket, so if you want to get your raffle ticket, please feel free. I'll do the drawing after Dr. Albert speaks. We'll be doing the drawing, okay? And so this is a little intermission where I just tell you a little bit about myself. I find it ironic that he spoke about generational curses because that was what I was going to talk about, actually. So I was born and raised in Kankakee, and my mother was a single parent, and so you know the struggles that comes with that. But my grandmother had my mother at 19. My mother had me at 19, and guess what else? I had my first at 19. So I decided that I wanted to be the one to break the generational curses because it didn't start with me, but it had to end with me. So I started my business, Empower to Enlighten, which is basically we work with youth and adults in the community working on self-love, knowing your worth, valuing yourself. I also do financial literacy because that's something I wish I would have known growing up, and that's how we stay in poverty because we don't know. We're just not educated, so that's another service that's offered. I've been blessed to have the Kankakee School District ask me to come in and do empowerment programs for the youth there. So that has been very helpful because I try to teach them basically to dream bigger than your environment, you know, to realize there is more out there than just Kankakee. Nothing wrong with Kankakee, but just want them to understand that you can go further. And like you said, you don't just have to do sports and be a rapper. There's so many more things you can do. So that's basically what my program is and what I do. And that's why I was so honored to be here at this event because my life story kind of is in alignment with the Still I Rise, their mission. So that's why I was so honored for them to ask me to be here. And so at this, you can give me an applause too, please. Okay, and then now we are going to have our keynote speaker come up, Dr. Rodney Alford. He is a phenomenal doctor and an individual who has contributed much of his expertise and time to the community. A fun fact is that Dr. Alford has supported the Still I Rise, the Still I Rise Healthy. Let me do that over. Dr. Alford has supported Still I Rise and has been the keynote speaker since the very first annual Healthy for Holidays event in the year 2014. So I just want to clap for that because consistency is key, and a lot of people are not consistent. So, he has won and been the recipient of many awards over his career and has also served as a trustee of the Illinois State Medical Society. Dr. Rodney Alford is a pediatric specialist in Kankakee area and in Kankakee County area and has over 40 years of experience in the medical field. He graduated from Loyola University and Stritch School of Medicine in 1982. I would like to present you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Rodney Alford.
really do appreciate that. And your man that presented, can they sit over here? Because there's tables, and I'd like to make sure that, for one, I want to get a chance to shake your hand. Brother, you brought it. Appreciate that. Man, anytime I see a young man that can be that transparent, talk about his life, realize the real reason that his life is the way it is because of God, I got to take my hat off to him. Beautiful. That was beautiful. Do not stop sharing that. Do not stop sharing it. I share some things with you. I came up in a single parent household as well. My father was kind of out there, drug scene, all the rest as well. And there were some things that he had to deal with. So he wasn't with our family as he dealt with those things, thank God, because I would have had to be a part of that. So I definitely understand those generational curses that happened in our communities, particularly. So I do want to take my hat off to you. Did you all want to sit over here? Oh, there's table. Yeah, absolutely. Please. I don't want you all to feel like this. I want you to be with here. See some of this too. I put a lot of time into this. Make sure everybody gets some of this. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, just want to let you know first and foremost that yes, I have been here. Anytime they ask me to come and speak, I want to be here. I want to be that person that is consistent, and I want to be able to do what God sends me to do. And He sent me obviously to do this and give this kind of education to our communities. I struggled. Well, actually, I came up with this just last night. These were just prepared last night. I wanted to make sure I got a feel for who the crowd was I wanted to speak to. And I struggled and I thought, what am I going to call it? What's going to be my title? The song came to me, Have Yourself a Healthy Little Christmas. And then I thought, wait a minute, wait. Tis the season to be healthy. That's what I did. So I said, I'll just put both as the title. So you all have to forgive me because, and you all can see I'm not transparent, that transparent that you can see through me. But I'll move around and make sure that I'm not standing in your way. But those two titles both came to me, and who's ever heard me give a presentation before? Some of you all have. Okay, good. So less than half of you. So that's good. So some of you all might know that my presentations can be a little iffy. Iffy. What's iffy? Iffy. What I consider iffy with my presentations is not what most people think. I like them to be interactive. I want them to be fun. I want to make sure it's informative. And most importantly, I want to be a little entertaining because I don't want you to go to sleep on me. This is good information. This is stuff you need. So that's why I think it's iffy. So what are my qualifications? Why am I able to speak to you? Who gives me the right to speak to you other than I'm standing here and y'all sitting down? What gives me the right? Why am I qualified to speak to you? I've been in healthcare for 40 years, over 40 years. I practiced both internal medicine and pediatrics. I think the line that they had written down for you was just pediatrics. Board certified has, and internal medicine is the care of adult patients, and pediatrics, of course, you know, is the care of children. And so I've made it a point to make sure I knew enough about both areas so that I can take care of a patient from birth to death. There are GPs out there, general practitioners, that have a kind of a general knowledge of pediatrics, adult medicine, delivery, doing all those kind of things. And then you have the family doctors that have a little bit more information on each of those characteristics, and they do a little psychiatry, things like that. My specialty was pediatrics. My specialty was internal medicine. So actually it normally would take 3 years of a residency program. After 4 years of medical school, after 4 years of college, it would take 3 years to do internal medicine as a residency. It would also take another 3 years to do pediatrics as a specialty. That's 6 additional years after medical school. That's 10 years after college. Okay, so a little time went into learning some of the stuff that I know. I've had over 250,000 patient visits. So I've seen a lot of patients. Some of them more than once. A lot of them more than once. But if I counted the number of patient visits, it comes to about that. I've done a lot of presentations. I've talked to a lot of people. Just did a presentation just yesterday in Chicago. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy talking to people about health particularly because that's what I know about. So I enjoy doing that. And so I've had well over 500 types of presentations that I've done and lectures. And as mentioned, I've received a lot of awards in my time. And I practice medicine in all types of communities. There is not a type of community in the United States that I haven't practiced in. And also there have been some other countries that I've practiced in as well. And speaking a foreign language in some of those countries, in Nigeria, in Jamaica. I've had practice in those areas too, and have clinics established in those areas as well. So I've had a little experience dealing with all types of people. And I was just elected by my peers in Illinois as the president-elect for our Illinois State Medical Society. That to me was very important because this isn't something that you campaign for. You know, you don't get out there and say, I want to be president of our State Medical Society. You earn that. Your peers decide that of the doctors in Illinois, this is who we want to represent us. So I take that very seriously, you know, and I will be talking to a lot of media as I get into my year. So be looking out for information that I'll be putting out. You'll see it in the Sun-Times, you know, all the other, you know, big newspapers, including the KPT Journal and others. But I'll be making a lot of statements. And thank you, brother, for highlighting what one of the major things I'm going to be talking about this next year, starting in April, mental health. I'm going to emphasize on mental health because we haven't done it enough. So some of my talk is going to actually have to do with mental health. So now you know why they asked me to come, because I can probably share a little information to you. So first question is going to be, what's considered good health? What's good health? Well, my feeling is that if you don't include all 3 components of good health, you don't have good health. You don't. There's mind, there's body, there's spirit. You have to have all of those things in place and intact to really have good health. So that's how I treat patients. That's how I look at life. Is that myself? I have to have my mind in control. I have to have my body doing the kind of things it should be doing, and my spirit has to be right. So all of those things are important. So we get to the point of we're talking about, okay, so we talk about holiday season being kind of unhealthy. Why? Why are the holidays so unhealthy? As I said, it's going to be interactive. I got an idea.
Great stress.
Yeah, stress. Food, family drama.
Missing family members.
Missing family members that you're thinking about, that you're concerned that would have been here, but they're not here. We're thinking about that. Get real sad about some of those things. Any other reasons? Binging. Yeah, people binge around this time. They eat too much, drink too much. You know, they use more drugs than they normally would use. All of that goes on around the house.
Suicide rate goes up around this time.
I'm glad you said that. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Loneliness.
Okay, loneliness sets in. So we have a tendency to indulge. Like I said, that cold weather, y'all. feel it. And cold weather. That makes you sad. It does. And we have like a stress, a competition. We want to try to please because we're trying to get that best Christmas present for our children, for our grandchildren, for other folks, people that we work with. You know, that's a stressor. That's a major stressor. During these times, there's more darkness during the day than light. Darkness during the day is depressing, y'all. It is. To the point where we actually, as physicians, have found that what you can do is give someone a bright light and have them sit under that bright light for a few minutes to hours a day, and their depression gets better. Clinically better. Proven. This is not a joke. This is for real. That amount is a certain wavelength of light. It's not just any light. And so they actually sell things like that have a certain wavelength of light that you would sit under, just chill, do whatever you normally would do during that time, and it actually improves your depressed state. It's amazing how that happens. We talked about contemplating, you know, previous people that used to be around. I think you mentioned that, Judge. And then, pronouncing that. Then there's more alcohol and other kinds of things that we tend to abuse around this time. So again, we want to talk about that mind, body, and spirit health. How are we going to make that better? So we got to look at our nutrition. That's important. We have to look at our activity level. That's important. We have to look at how much sleep we're getting. The amount of sleep as well as the quality of sleep. That's important. And then we have to look at our stress levels and our ability to control it. Because just because we have stress, somebody raise your hand here that doesn't have stress. Raise, please. This is interactive. It's okay. Be transparent. I'm telling you, all of us have stress. All of us. And so it's how you handle it. It really isn't that you're going to have it. Because guess what? Nobody raised their hands. So all of us are dealing with it. So it's going to be there. And then those spiritual activities. And I call them activities because we know that just having spirit nature, just reading, you know, isn't enough. The Bible tells us that it's not enough to just know the word, right? It's not enough. We got to have some activity, okay? Faith without work is dead. Okay, now, we got some church over here. So, I didn't know y'all was churchy like that. So nutrition is the first thing we're going to talk about. Now, you all may have looked at, I know somebody looked at, inside here, they put in my 10 tips for healthy holidays. And if you look at that, I guarantee you there's probably one thing in there that you say, man, I really need to do that. Really need to do that. Probably a couple things. Might be 3 or 4 things. But there's a number of things that we don't think about that I put in there. During the holidays, we need to think about those things. So we definitely want to avoid saturated fats. So what are saturated? You hear this stuff all the time. You talk about this, and you're like, okay, I'm going to avoid saturated fats. What does that really mean? Think about any kind of fat that in room temperature is solid. Okay? Bacon grease. It does I threw that one out there because I knew everybody can identify with that. But any kind of meat fat is a saturated fat. And then there are unsaturated fats. Those are usually oils in room temperature. So think of it that way. It's kind of, there's some other oils that are saturated as well, but just think of it that way. So another thing is during the holidays, we have to be buffet smart. You know, even if it's not the holidays, but during the holidays, we tend to eat more, right? Okay. And we tend to have like buffet, like huge amounts of food, all kinds of different foods. And it's not just on Christmas. It's from Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving, to after New Year. and a half of overeating. That's what we do. And so we have things like buffet, types of presentations, because everybody doesn't like everything. So you have everybody bring a little something, something, okay? And that happens a lot. So be buffet smart. How do you be buffet smart? Well, you go to the buffet line, you get your first plate is just salad. Fill it with salad, okay? Because you're going to try to look healthy anyway. You're going to get a little salad anyway. But what we usually do is grab about 4 or 5 pieces of lettuce, put it on so we can say we had salad. I'm sorry, I'm busting y'all game, but that's the truth. Put about, maybe a tomato might be, a slice might be on there to give it a little color.
Don't forget the cucumber.
And you definitely want to have the cucumber for that little extra taste. So now you got your 3 pieces of lettuce, your tomato, and your cucumber slice that's been cut in 4s. And you got a salad. No, you don't. So, you have something to decorate the plate, because most of it doesn't even get eaten. Because the other stuff, you concentrating on the meat, potatoes, the pasta, all the other good stuff. So what I suggest to you to do is be buffet smart. Go to the buffet line. They're gonna have the lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers. They're gonna have it because it looks pretty and it's set up and it's got a big bowl, and you want to be the first in line to get that, so you get all the good stuff off of it, on top of that. Fill your plate with the salad. Go back to your seat. Go back to your seat. The food ain't going nowhere. The food is not going anywhere. So you might as well let it stay there. Let everybody get what they're going to get while you eat your salad. Everybody was, wow, I wish I could be like them and be that healthy. When in all, you thinking, I'm still going to get some food. I'm going to enjoy the food. But I'm going to eat the salad here first, and I'm going to eat it slowly. Slowly. Okay? The reason you eat it slowly is so that your stomach feels it, because your brain won't know about it for another 20 minutes that you're full. That's how long it takes. It takes that long for your body to your brain to recognize that food is in there. And that's why when we go to the buffet line, we can get a plate, go back and get another plate, and go back and get a third plate. Anybody do the third plate thing? Raise your hand. Shame the devil. So it's just or we don't want to go back and forth so many times. So our plate looks like this. So I'm not going to shame you. I have to raise your hand on that because I know some of y'all do that. So you don't have to go the third time. So I encourage you to be buffet smart. Get some water or some type of non-sugar drink, non-alcoholic, non-sugar drink, iced tea, whatever you want. But have that along with that salad. What that'll do is it'll fill your stomach. Now, will you still go up and get some of the stuff that you really want? You sure will, but you won't get as much. And you absolutely won't eat as much. Guaranteed. And so, be buffet smart. Nuts. There have been so many studies, hundreds of studies done recently in the past couple of years on the health of nuts. They have found that people that eat nuts on a fairly regular basis actually live an average of 5 years longer than people that don't. If you want to get your extra 5 years, nuts. All types of nuts too. You got almonds, pistachios, walnuts, cashews, pecans, macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are pretty expensive. I just came from Hawaii about 2-3 weeks ago. We brought home a bunch of macadamia nuts because my wife really loves them. And so we had all these different types of flavors of macadamia nuts, and she just finds all kind of ways to eat them. But yeah, they're a good source of protein. They have as a great source of B vitamins, manganese. Most of y'all never even heard of that, but if you had a little chemistry class, you might have heard of manganese. But it's one of those trace minerals that we need to have. Selenium, another one of those trace minerals that we need to have to live, that we can't get from certain other types of foods. the nuts will provide all of that for us. So it makes sense to look into and get some of that. Add some fiber to your diet as well. So it's another healthy thing. Another thing, thousands of studies have been done just in the past couple years on coffee. Now a lot of you all, most of you all are coffee drinkers. Anybody here not a coffee drinker? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you count them on 2 hands and not use up all your fingers. Most folks are coffee drinkers, and if I survey most areas, the percentage is much higher of people that drink coffee versus those that don't. Just so you know, the folks that raise your hands, you have a life expectancy that's 10 years less than the people that drink coffee. Whoa.
That was a lie.
Yeah, I know. I said that same thing because I was not a coffee drinker. I went
get that 10 years.
College. I went through medical school. I went through residency. I went through all this training. I went through nights of not being able to sleep, of not being able to sleep because I had to stay up, and I didn't have coffee because I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the taste of it. I kind of like the smell because, you know, coffee smell in the morning. I think what this reminded me of the bacon and sausage. You know, that's what it really was. It wasn't really the coffee, but so I started drinking coffee just a couple years ago after I've seen the abundance of studies. And these are worldwide studies all over. But I'm not saying that you're going to die 10 years earlier than everybody else. I'm not saying that. Don't go back and say, Dr. Alpha said I'm going to die. I got witnesses. So, no, I did not say that. What I'm saying is that your life expectancy is actually, given the averages, people that drink coffee actually live longer. Just doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't.
It's not the caffeine, folks. It's not the caffeine. So just so you know, it's not because you're drinking, you know, caffeinated drink that causes you. It's something in the coffee bean that actually does have some things that kind of preserve your life. And it's a wonderful thing. I can go through some of the things, but basically, it does promote even weight management. It helps you lose weight. You know, increases your energy levels. I mean, all the studies are out there. It enhances your athletic performance. And this is decaf, caffeine, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Dementia cuts back on the frequency of dementia. All kinds of chronic diseases are limited by coffee beans. So I started drinking coffee. At least increase my chances somehow, because some of the other negative ones that I did. So some other things you can do to kind of help with your nutrition is use substitutions, you know, for stuff. Anybody? Well, let me see a show of hands of folks that know what that first word is. I want to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people out of 11 people out of about 32, 33 people. So a third know what that word is. Now I want to see show of hands of folks that have actually eaten it.
I tried it that way.
You tried it? No, yeah. Okay, so it's almost the same number of folks. A couple of folks that have heard of it. It's called quinoa. Quinoa. Quinoa is an interesting thing. And if you fix it right, you just got to have the right person prepare it for you and know what your tastes are like. I love to cook. Anybody that knows me well knows, you know, I love to cook. And I look for all kinds of interesting things to cook. I consider myself an international kind of cook. So I find all kinds of stuff. But what I do with the international stuff is I'll take an Italian dish and blacken it.
Soul dish.
So quinoa kind of almost look like a funny colored grit. It kind of look like It don't taste like grits. But you know it takes on, it's a seed. But it takes on the flavor of whatever it is that you're making. So if you just have it plain, it's gonna taste like quinoa. Do you eat rice plain regularly?
No.
No. You like to have something with it, or something on it, like some gravy, or some, you know, something with it. Noodles. Do we really like to eat noodles by themselves?
No.
Not particularly. It takes on pasta, takes on the flavor of what it is. It's the sauce, y'all.